Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I have another tier list for you, but this is a very special one for me, as we will be ranking all of the countries and pets covered in my country guides so far. The ranking will be mostly based on the power achievable by following my strategies, but we will also mention the difficulty of the guide and how enjoyable the country is to play. If that sounds interesting, you're in the right place. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, but make sure to join our Discord to meet our amazing community. If you enjoy the content I make, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing and leaving a comment, as you know it all really helps the channel grow faster. That said, let's get started. As usual, we start with a hidden tier list and we will unlock it as we proceed. You can already see the categories here. We have OP, just broken, at the top, S for insane potential, A for very powerful, B for powerful and C for average. Of course, we are talking about my guides here, so all countries get to at least the average level. There is nothing lower than that. Before we dive into the C average tier, let me talk about something else very briefly. So this is an overview of the shared folder for tier 2 members of the channel. As you can see, there is something new in here. So I decided to add the difficulty rating from 1 to 5 stars. For now, maybe we'll have a 6 stars one in the future, to all of the country guides I made. As you can see now, there are quite a lot of guides available for tier 2 members of the channel, and this way, especially if you're a new player, you can immediately get an idea of how difficult the guide is, so you can choose based on that. And in tools, you can also find these country guides tier list with all countries ranked by best to worst with a score next to it. Now I will not open it now, as it would be a spoiler for what we're about to see, but if you're a tier 2 member, do check it out, because in there you can get an idea not only of the tier, but an exact score based on the industry and manpower available by the year the guide ends. So very interesting, give it a look. That said, let's check out our C tier. And I'm sure there will be already quite a few surprises in here. Probably not a surprise to see Austria and Azad Hind India at the very bottom, but let's talk about them very briefly. So here is a screenshot from my Austria guide, which shows us the end of the guide. As you can see, we were able to take the Soviet Union under our control as a European Russia, but we did do that quite late. It's 1943, our manpower is pretty bad, and our industry, by this time of the run, it's bad. So this is why the Danubian Federation Austria keeps the lowest slot in our tier list. That being said, this is a very fun run, so the fact that you don't become super powerful is no reason not to try it. You actually get to play as a minor, which is very rare. Usually in my guides I make minors into majors and you act like a major. With Danubian Federation Austria you get to play as a minor with only a few divisions and you need to rely on your allies. Now if the eye was less than terrible, that would be better, but it's still a lot of fun and a very different run from usual. And well, what to say about Azad Hind India? Interesting run once again, very tough. The main problem with Azad Hind, as you can see, we're not that bad in terms of manpower, in terms of factories. It's not that late yet. At this point, by the way, you cannot see it from this map, but China is our puppet and Japan is our puppet. We also got their navy. The main problem with Azad Hind is really their position on the map. In terms of expansion, they get to expand very late because the civil war is a struggle and getting to it is a struggle. So it takes a while to become independent. But especially it takes a while to get something like a navy that you can use to expand in Europe. So you're forced to play this part of the world, which means that by 1942 we took down Japan and China, but the allies have the US in it, and the run is a bit more challenging. Still, probably one of the best, if not the best path for Graveyard of Empires. As you know, not the best DLC, but this one is worth a try. Next, we have the Ottoman Empire. Interesting but very challenging run. This is a screenshot from the end of the run. Now, as you can see, we're doing pretty good in terms of manpower and industry, but it is fairly late in the game. Also, lovely that the screenshot is of Japan with Tokyo and Yokohama under our control, because we did go for the most difficult achievements, including the one that requires the Ottomans to control all of the main capitals in the world. So we control London, Paris, Rome and Tokyo. And I probably forgot some. Interesting run, worth a try, but the Ottomans are challenging. And speaking of challenging runs, Communist China is another 5 stars difficulty run, a very difficult one, but a very satisfying one once you pull it off. This is a screenshot at the end of the run as usual. It is only October 1941, we reunited China, we have unlimited manpower, literally, and we puppeted Japan, taking their navy, so not a bad spot. However, our industry is still modest, and once again we're a bit far from the relevant part of the world, so it is a bit trickier to continue the run in an effective way. China has potential, it has the potential to be above the C tier, but from the end of the run, from this screenshot, that's where I would place it. Now, China is also likely to change very soon with the upcoming DLC, so if you want to give this particular run a try, I would recommend doing it sooner rather than later. I will go very quickly over the next two, Democratic United Kingdom and Democratic France. Now, they don't seem to fit very well down here, because United Kingdom and France are very powerful, but the democratic path is quite underwhelming for both of them. Now, this is a screenshot from the Democratic UK run. So as you can see, limited industry and not much potential, also terrible puppets as always with democracies. And Democratic France, of course a lot more potential since you can get the European Union done, that's why they take the top of the average tier. But still, being a democracy, that means this is basically the end of the run, and it is March 1941, so not super early. These are decent but not great stats. And with that, boys, it is time to unlock the next tier and see what made it into the B powerful tier. Again, I expect some surprises, potentially criticism, although this is my own country guides, my own tier list, so no criticism accepted. But what's in here? We have Fascist Brazil and Fascist Turkey to take the bottom of the list. Let's see why. So for Fascist Brazil, we actually get decent manpower, not great factories, but it is only December 1939, so good potential, but challenging run. Fighting in South America is always quite tough. Supplies are a mess, the early expansion wars are difficult. So this is another 4 or 5 stars difficulty rating guide. And well, while there is potential, I wouldn't rate it higher than this. Of course, guys, these countries are all powerful, that's what I was mentioning earlier. So you need to see what is in the upper tiers to understand why Brazil cannot make it there. And the same more or less applies to Turkey. Here we have a bit less manpower, similar amount of factories, similar timing. It's quite impressive what Fascist Turkey can do, by far better than Ottoman Turkey, because despite the lack of coring potential, with Fascist Turkey you can actually expand very well. As you can see here, we took all of these puppets in the Balkans. Very fun run, and fairly challenging, but nothing crazy, so Fascist Turkey, highly recommended. Then we have another major with Russia in the third Rome path. A very interesting path, which allows you to get this epic dude as your ruler. As you can see, good manpower, of course, as Russia. Fairly good industry. It is June 1941. By the end of this run here, we defeated the Axis. Now, of course, going through the civil war, because you need to win the Russian civil war to get the non-aligned in charge, slows you down a little bit. And that's what damages some of the potential from this run. Other than that, it's a very fun run. Next, we have a very basic Democratic USA guide, extremely easy. The rating would be 0 stars, but I decided the minimum is 1, so rating 1 out of 5 in terms of difficulty, and very straightforward in what you do. Again, you have all of the limitations of democracies, so you do get good manpower and a good industry, mostly from the United States themselves, but then these occupation areas are not great. In fact, it would be probably better to annex everything as a democracy. And again, the options for continuing the run are fairly limited. Democracies will always be at the bottom here, because in terms of potential, they simply have less than other ideologies. Then we have Napoleon, France. Very interesting run. I covered it recently in a live, which went very well. Here is a screen of the live, of course there is me, so you get 2 me's in this one. Now you can see limited manpower, but probably we haven't gotten all of the cores yet in here. Good industry, it is May 1941, we are non-aligned, so we have a few more options for expansion. The problem with this run, which is not itself particularly difficult, is the amount of RNG involved in it, because unfortunately Paradox broke Germany, but I will not go over that in here. You can watch the live, you can check out the guide to see why it is partially broken and a bit more difficult to achieve. Not technically difficult, but RNG difficult. Next, we have historical USSR. Later on, you will see also historical Italy. The historical runs, of course, are meant to be less effective, so in terms of potential power, they're usually lower than other ones, because we limit ourselves. So with historical USSR, for example, we forbid ourselves from attacking Germany before they attack us with real Barbarossa, so we lose 1 year. And with historical Italy, we do not expand at all before World War II. So great limitations, still 2 great runs. So here is a screen from historical Russia. As you can see, we capitulated and made the United States communist. We have a decent industry, good manpower as always, but it is already 1942. Again, the limitations related to the fact that we had to wait for Barbarossa. In fact, considering we waited for Barbarossa, it's quite impressive. We capitulated the United States in 1942. And since I mentioned Italy, let's go over that one, skip Mexico for a second. So this is a screen from our historical Italy, although if you look at it right now, you wouldn't say it's very historical because everything became Italy. So great industry, great manpower, but it is already 1943. This particular run, it was very fun. It took me forever to cap the United States because, of course, Chile decided to become a major and I had to go down there and invade them, which took forever. Now, this is another guide that I would highly recommend because it's not super difficult and it involves the Navy. The Navy is something I often skip entirely in my guides, but in this one we created the Navy able to completely disintegrate the Royal Navy and the US Navy. So if you are into the Navy, this is a run you must absolutely try. Now let's cover Mexico. Mexico for me was absolutely a blast. I did not expect to love it that much. It was a tier 3 member request. And I was absolutely astonished by how powerful Mexico can become. As you can see here, it is October 1941 and we have a very good industry. We have good manpower and especially we took a good chunk of the United States, which we can also core. The rest of the United States is our puppet, World War II is already over, so that's very, very fast. This is a challenging run, especially in the early phases. The timing is precise, but it is a lot of fun, highly recommended. And last, so technically the most powerful here in the B tier, we have Japan. Now this is one of my older guides and it will need an update. Of course it will get one with the new DLC. But for now the guide still works and it is still a very powerful strategy. Here is the end of the run. As you can see, we puppeted France and the United Kingdom. We haven't fought the Axis yet, but we will do so in the continuation of this run if you're interested. It's all available on the channel. By the way, down here you can also see the titles, so you can easily look them up on my channel. It is only January 1940 and we already capitulated the Allies. We, of course, took China. We expanded a lot. We have good manpower, good industry, a very solid country. So let's hope they don't make it worse in the DLC. Alright boys, it's time for the very powerful tier. Excited? I am. Let's see. I forgot what I put in there, so let's find out. Quite a lot of stuff in here, interesting stuff, surprising stuff. Now, consider that here there are some minors. Look at this, Hungary is up there, above the Soviet Union, Papal State Italy, Communist Germany, Fascist United States. How is this possible? How did Hungary made it all the way up there? We'll see in a bit, but let's start with Communist Germany. Here is the usual screen. It is October 1941. We made the word communist. Good manpower, very powerful industry. I mean, it's Germany after all. This is a very chaotic, in fact, as you can see, the title was that, and fun run. Because when you turn communist as Germany, the world tends to go crazy. There is a bit of RNG involved, which is why this run is not always consistent. But it is worth trying, especially if you are interested in seeing what happens. Consider you will be the most powerful country. You have a very good industry, very good modifiers and a good army. And the world around you is just going crazy. And you're making it go even crazier by suddenly turning countries communist. Very, very fun. Then we have a fascist USA. Let's take a look at that. So here the run is actually very similar to the democratic USA one because I go for a no civil war strategy for fascist USA. Very effective one because as you can see, we get good industry, good manpower, and it is only November 1940. Now, unlike democratic US, the reason this one is one tier above is that here you're fascist, so you have plenty of options for further expansion. But above fascist US, for some reason, we have fascist Yugoslavia. Again, how's that possible? Well, if you don't believe me, just look at this and see how insanely powerful Yugoslavia gets. July 1940, 624 factories. That's absolutely crazy. Yugoslavia was a blast, one of my latest guides. Very, very fun. Challenging, you start very weak, you need to go through a civil war, you need to expand in the Balkans, and there is a moment in this run in which you are split in so many little puppets and you have literally nothing, no manpower, no industry. So it's incredibly fun to see how it evolves. You start in a bad spot, you get to an even worse spot, and then you suddenly become incredibly powerful. And by the way, everything I'm pointing at in here, everything that is Yugoslavia, is our core, so it's very cool because you get to core part of Romania, Bulgaria and Hungary as well. Very fun run. Next we have Romanov Poland, and when you want to talk about cores, you need to talk about Romanov Poland. Because what Romanov Poland is able to do is, well, simply to core the Soviet Union. Nothing special. So, as you can see here, it is only November 1940 and we already cored the Soviet Union. This would be even higher on the tier list. Unfortunately, the Soviet Union gets destroyed by us fairly early, so they didn't have time to build such a great industry. 287 factories is not amazing. Of course, in terms of manpower, we're in a much better spot. Poland is, of course, challenging, but this is a great path. It's a secret path, by the way, so make sure to check my guide and give it a try. Next we have two Austria guides. So Austria was at the bottom of our tier list, but it almost made it to the top as well, with Fascist Austria and Secret Austria. Both runs are fairly similar, both in terms of strategy and in terms of outcome, but Secret Austria has an advantage. While not being fascist, which is usually better, it's non-aligned, with Secret Austria you get a secret path, which is always cool, and you get to form the Holy Roman Empire with all of the related cores. So here is a screen from our Fascist Austria run. You can also see why it is ranked so high. It's only March 1941 and we already have 835 factories, very solid manpower, and everything we control in here is our core. But as I was mentioning, even more impressive is the coring potential of Secret non-aligned Austria, the one you see here. Because in here you form the Holy Roman Empire and you core not everything you see in here, but the northern part of Italy, all of Germany without having to spend political power. So it's amazing. Actually, if you look at it here, it's a bit later, September 1941. We have a bit less in terms of factories, but we have more cores. So again, great potential, very fun run. This is the best Austria guide. It is the most optimized, the last one I made. This is another run that you really want to try. Very fun. Okay, then we have Papal State Italy. Very easy run, same strategy as the Roman Empire run, with some minor changes to make us non-aligned and then turn us into the Papal State. So here you can see the screenshot. It is very beautiful, very white. This is just before turning it into the Roman Empire. Now, the issue with this particular run is, as you can see, right now we don't have much manpower and we don't have many factories, but we haven't turned into the Roman Empire yet. So we are yet to core many of these things. Quick comparison, because you will see the other Roman Empire run, which, as you can already guess, is going to be in the upper tiers. Now, the main difference is Papal State actually has better modifiers, but it is non-aligned, not fascist, and being fascist is generally better for expansion, for everything. And the fascist version has a lot more political power, so by this time of the run, not only you get the Roman Empire, but you get to core most of it with the fascist version. With the Papal State, it will take a bit longer to get to that point. Still, absolutely amazing. I mean, do we want to talk about it? Painting everything in the Papal State white is just amazing. So next we have the Soviet Union, fairly straight Soviet Union run. This is a reverse Barbarossa, so we do not limit us to wait for Germany to attack us, we attack them instead, which makes us a lot more powerful, as you can see here. So we achieve basically the same results as with the historical one, but about 1 year earlier. Very good manpower, very good industry, what else to say? A lot of fun. So it's time to talk about Hungary. How did Hungary make it all the way up there? And well, that's simply because Hungary is insanely powerful, as you can see here. It is March 1941 and we have huge manpower, insanely powerful industry, and we have DOP European Union. This is a European Union that can core not only everything in the actual European Union, but everything in the European region, let's call it that, which includes all of the Balkans, a great part of Russia, all of Scandinavia, all of the British Islands. It's just fantastic. As you can see here, we haven't done that yet. So there is insane potential for a continuation of this run and for coring a lot more than this. Also, Hungary is a lot of fun early on, somehow similar to Austria, but better in almost all aspects. So we use some very nice tricks to get this run. I will not mention them here, but go check it out. It's very, very fun how we manage the early expansion as Hungary and how we get to this level of power. And with that, boys, it's time to go up one more tier into the S tier for insane potential. I'm sure you will be surprised by something in here. I mean, probably normal to see the Roman Empire, normal to see Germany in there. As you can see, there is my latest guide in there as well. But Finland may look like an intruder. Trust me, it's not. Let's start with Germany though. Broken Germany is my fascist Germany guide released with Götterdämmerung. And it's fairly easy to explain. I mean, June 1940, 951 factories. Solid manpower. If there is any limitation for fascist Germany, is that you don't have any core potential. That's it. These are the cores you're going to get. You're not going to get more than these, but you don't really need them because you're just insane. Great modifiers, great stability war support, manpower, industry, army. It's just crazy. Of course, this is another easy run, especially if you follow my guide. If you're a new player, Italy, Germany, they are very good picks to learn the game. So this is another great run for beginners. Next we have the Italian Roman Empire, so Italy above Germany in my ranking. Why is that? Let's find out. Well, the reason is simple. Now, as you can see, the industry is not quite there yet, but the manpower is. And the difference is what I was talking about earlier, the coring potential. So it is only June 1940 and we already cored everything that you see here as the Imperium Romanum, which is all of the provinces of the Imperium Romanum. And that means for the rest of the run, you will have a huge advantage over fascist Germany. Only few things are more powerful than Roman Empire Italy. One of them may be fascist Finland. I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. In fact, Finland is crazy. It's insane. Now, let's see some of the stats here. In case you didn't trust me, look at this. 1,235 factories. It is January 1941, so basically 1940 still, and this amount of factories is just crazy. Moreover, we just destroyed everyone in this run. Of course, we are the Nordic Empire, and everything in here is our core, but in this run, now I can zoom in, but it's gonna be very pixelated, but you can see everything is Finnish. So here we defeated Germany, we defeated Italy, we defeated France and the Allies, and we defeated Russia. The Soviet Union is, the screenshot is cut. And there is another me with a long beard in here. But the Soviet Union is our puppet as well. Finland is amazing. This is a run that you have to try. I mean, there is no option. If you want to play this game, you need to play at least once fascist Finland. It's just so crazy to see how easily it becomes powerful in addition to crazy modifiers, army modifiers. So if there is anything they lack, it's possibly manpower. But after you core everything, even that's not an issue anymore. Now, despite my recent love for runs such as Austria and Yugoslavia, very enjoyable runs, Finland remains up there for me. The best miner in the game, by far. I mean, as you can see, Finland is above many of the majors, tiers above some of them. But the best S tier country, which you will see later why the OP tier should be more or less ignored, so we could say the best country in the game, is Secret Germany, my latest guide, my latest run. This was a surprise for me as well. I did not expect non-aligned Secret Germany to be better than Fascist Germany, especially considering you need to go through a bloody civil war to start a run. So why is Secret Germany so powerful? And here is the answer. So 1,456 factories by June 1941. And also very good manpower. Now the main difference here compared to Fascist Germany, it's not about the industry, because with Fascist Germany, if you conquer the Soviet Union and the United States as we did here, you would probably get to a similar place. But with this secret non-aligned path, you get to form the Holy Roman Empire and you fix one of the main issues of Germany, which is, as we said earlier, the lack of coring potential. This run is also not particularly difficult, although it requires some careful timing, and it's very enjoyable and interesting to see develop. So this is another one I highly recommend. And with that, boys, there is only one tier left, and it may come as no surprise to you if you have been following the channel. There is only one country that is really broken above everyone else, and that country is Broken UK, which is Civil War Fascist UK. Now, let me show you something here. Now we talked about it, so I can actually show you. So this is the country guide tier list you would have access to as a tier 2 member. And I made this with the aid of the AI. So we established a ranking based on the industrial power, manpower, and year by which we achieved the results. And we decided to give the perfect score to the United Kingdom. So the UK gets 100. That's the top. Now, to give you a comparison in terms of power, the UK, Fascist UK, Broken UK is 100. Secret Germany, which we just talked about, is 63. It's almost half as powerful. That's how big the difference between the UK and everything else in the game is. And now let me give you a practical demonstration of that. Here is a screen from the end of our Fascist UK run. It is only March 1940, and we have 1,788 factories. That manpower is on volunteers only, by the way. Everything you see in here is not only taken but also cored, because Fascist UK gets DOP, European Union, so you get to core all of this stuff as well. And we cannot see from this screen the rest of the world, but many of our colonies, many of our territories, including all of the United States and all of Canada, are also our cores. This is a 0 out of 5 difficulty run. It's incredibly easy, it's incredibly broken. I wouldn't say it's the most fun because it's so broken that you just steamroll everyone from the beginning to the end. But it's again one of those runs that probably at least once in your HOI4 lifetime you need to try, because it's just so fun to see how broken the UK can be and how nothing else in the game can even compare to this. And with this, boys, we got to the end of this tier list. I enjoyed making this tier list. It took me way too long because I had to write down all of the stats from all of these runs and then adjust them a little bit. You could make some changes in here, and of course this is based on where my country guides end. It's not the absolute potential of the run. Otherwise, some of these countries would probably be up 1 or 2 tiers. It was also fun because by looking at them I realized how all of them are good, because Danubian Federation Austria is a fun run and it is at the very bottom. Everything else in here is absolutely enjoyable and a lot of fun. Now guys, I want to hear from you, not so much what you would change in here, because this is mostly subjective, it's based on my guides. But I would be very curious to hear which one of my guides you like the most. Which one of these runs is your favorite? That I would be very curious to hear. So please let me know in the comments. Let me also know if you enjoyed this idea of a tier list based on my country guides and the difficulty rating in the dedicated folder to get an idea of what you're getting into when you start one of my guides. Of course, I plan to update these next year when I will have a lot more country guides to share with you. There are a couple more coming very soon, Spain in particular, but I decided not to include it in this tier list. As usual, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye bye!